After our passionate encounter, Julian handed me a divorce agreement. Remember to pack up your things. She doesn't like other women around me. I looked at the pants he had just pulled on. Silently, I signed my name. As I was leaving, I accidentally overheard him joking with a friend. Seriously, Julian, you're really done with her. If you don't want her, can you let a brother have a go? Julian lit a cigarette. Let's wait. She still can't leave me. True. All these years. Hasn't she always come crawling back like a dog whenever you beckon? I stood outside the door, saying nothing. I simply turned around and booked a flight abroad. Later on, Julian knelt on the ground like a dog, begging me to come back. I didn't even spare him a glance. All these years. Hasn't she always come crawling back like a dog whenever you beckon? Julian, sometimes I really envy you. With a body like Charlotte's, she must be amazing in bed. Julian lit a cigarette nonchalantly. She's only good for that. Otherwise, I would have kicked her out of the family long ago. What about Olivia? I'm warning you. At the mention of Olivia, Julian's tone changed abruptly. Don't talk nonsense in front of Olivia. She's not like other girls. I get it. I get it. Olivia is forever our sister. In law. I stood outside the door, listening to their conversation. I thought for a moment, then took out my phone and replied to a message. Book me a flight abroad. I'll leave as soon as the divorce is finalized. The typing indicator on the other end went on for a long time. Finally, a single word came back. Okay. I put down my phone. Julian came out and threw a set of keys at me. I have a house in the suburbs. You can move there for now. He paused, then added, I'll visit you once a month. The keys landed on the edge of the sofa, then slid to the floor with a crisp clatter. I looked at the keys and pursed my lips. I have some money. I can rent my own place. He was already putting on his coat. Hearing my words, he seemed dismissive. How much money could you have? For all these years, everything you've eaten and lived in, wasn't it all provided by the Sterling family? He looked back at me, his tone softening. Charlotte, don't blame me. It took a lot for me to win Olivia back. She's not like other girls. When you see her in the future, try to stay away. Understand? I nodded. I won't see her. He reached out and stroked my forehead. That's a good girl. We were married once. I won't abandon you. You can continue to be with me, even without a title. You won't be treated unfairly. With that, he picked up his car keys and was about to leave. At the door, he seemed to remember something and turned back. Remember to clean up your things. I promised her I wouldn't leave any trace. Julian. I summoned the courage to call his name. When are we going to get the divorce certificate? He thought for a moment. Next week. I've already made an appointment. My marriage to Julian was an accident from the start. When I was 19, Julian got drunk and stumbled into my room, mistaking me for Olivia. A night of entanglement followed. The next day, he woke up to see the bloodstains on the sheets, a look of trouble on his face. I'm sorry, Charlotte. I was drunk last night and thought you were Olivia. I endured the discomfort and replied, It's okay. You don't have to take responsibility. He fled the room as if escaping. Later, somehow, word of this reached Julian's father. The Sterling family had a strict code of conduct, and his father valued his reputation above all else. He forced Julian to marry me. On our wedding night, Julian didn't come home. The next day, he returned, drunk, and when he saw me, he only said one thing. Charlotte, you disgust me. He thought I had snitched to his father, forcing him to marry me. In fact, on that drunken night, he had never once called out Olivia's name. He had said, Charlotte, my sweet Charlotte, please be mine. I'll be good to you for the rest of my life. I believed him and, despite the pain, gave myself to him. I never expected him to change his tune the very next day. When Olivia learned of our marriage, she quickly left the country. Julian blamed me for it. After our marriage, he loathed me, forbidding me from setting foot in his room, from appearing with him in public, even from calling his name. I was taken in by Julian's family. His grandmother often taught me, Charlotte, one must never forget one's roots. One must not forget one's roots. So, since the Sterling family had given me a bite to eat, I had to repay it all to Julian. Whatever Julian said, I did. Even after I graduated and got a job, my entire salary was handed over to the Sterling family. It could be said that the entire Sterling enterprise was basically supported by me. For so many years, the debt I owed the Sterling family, principal and interest, I had long since paid it off. I didn't have many things. By the time Julian returned from his outing the next day, I had already left with my suitcase. He called me, asking if I had left something behind. I said no. He mentioned the keys. I remembered the keys he had thrown on the floor and summoned the courage to say, Julian, you're about to marry Olivia. It's not appropriate for you to keep me. Charlotte, are you getting cocky? He suddenly became angry. Fine, just don't come crying back to me. With that, he hung up. In the past, at times like this, I would immediately call him back, coaxing and placating him until his anger subsided, but not this time, and never again. For the next week, we didn't contact each other. Olivia was coming back soon, and Julian was busy preparing a surprise for her. The day we got our divorce certificate, it was a drizzly, rainy day. I sneezed a few times after getting up and wore a mask when I went out. In Julian's eyes, all of this became evidence of my heartbreak over him. He smiled with great pleasure. TSK, your eyes are red from crying again. I never said I didn't want you. In the future, you and Olivia, one in the light, one in the dark, won't interfere with each other. I didn't explain and walked straight into the hall, because we had an appointment. The process went smoothly. As soon as I got the certificate, Julian eagerly took a picture and sent it to Olivia. The reply came back quickly. Make her swear that she will never see you again in this lifetime, and I'll believe you. Julian played the voice message for me, then turned the camera on me. Charlotte, hurry up and swear that you will never pester me again. I'll record it for Olivia. His voice was quite loud. People were coming and going in the hall. They all looked over curiously. Perhaps, in their eyes, I had become the secret mistress who couldn't be seen in public, caught by the main wife and deliberately brought to the Civil Affairs Bureau to be shamed. I looked at the camera, then at Julian, who was holding the phone with a grin. I slowly raised 3 fingers, with great solemnity. All right, Charlotte, swear. I will never love Julian again in this lifetime. I will not pester him, and I will not see him. If I break this vow, may I be struck by lightning and die a horrible death. The smile on Julian's face slowly froze. He looked at me, his lips slightly parted. In the end, he said nothing. He sent the video. I turned and walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau. He quickly followed, placing a set of keys in my hand. Stop being stubborn. I know you're upset. I'll come see you after I've appeased Olivia. Julian. I looked at the keys in my hand and asked in a low voice, what if Olivia finds out? She won't, Julian said with certainty. She has her own career. An anesthesiologist. You know, right? She's the youngest and most beautiful anesthesiologist I've ever seen. This time she's back, and many big hospitals are fighting over her. She's so busy. As long as you don't show up in front of her, she'll never know. You admire anesthesiologists? I asked. Of course. He glanced at me, then sneered. Why am I telling you this? You're a housewife. You don't understand anything. I lowered my head. I have a job. The sarcasm on his face was undisguised. What kind of job is that? A hospital orderly. A servant's job. How much can you earn? As he spoke, he was already getting into his car. Olivia's flight is this afternoon. I'm going to surprise her early. You can take a taxi back. Anesthesiologist. In fact, he didn't know that I was also an anesthesiologist, and the hospital I worked at was not some small private hospital, but one of the top 3 in the country. This trip abroad was for a very important surgery. I threw the keys into a trash can and turned to go to the airport as well. I was an orphan. At the age of 7, the orphanage I was in suddenly caught fire, and I was almost burned to death. It was the director who desperately carried me out and sent me to the hospital. When I woke up in the hospital, I had been separated from everyone. A while ago, a man named Adrian contacted me. He asked if I was from the Starlight Orphanage when I was a child. He had grown up there too. We confirmed each other's identities through email. Adrian was the older brother who often taught us to read when we were little. After the orphanage incident, he was found by his family, the Fords, and went abroad. He was now a surgeon, and the director was living with him, but she was very ill and needed surgery. He knew I was a famous anesthesiologist in the country and asked if I could go abroad to help him with this surgery. I thought of the director rushing into the fire to save me when I was a child. I had to do my best in this surgery. After being separated from the orphanage, I had wandered the streets for a long time until I met Julian. I was 8 years old then. I was rummaging through a trash can for food because I was hungry. Julian was walking by, holding his grandmother's hand. When he saw me, he burst into tears. He said, Grandma, look how pitiful she is. Like a little puppy. Can we take her home? Buddy is missing anyway. Julian's grandmother was reluctant at first, but Julian kept crying and begging until his voice was hoarse. Only then did his grandmother agree. I finally had a home. When we were little, Julian was very good to me. He would always secretly save the best food and toys for me. I later found out that Buddy was a puppy Julian had raised. It had run away around that time, and when Julian saw me, he thought of Buddy. He was afraid Buddy was rummaging through trash cans for food like me, so he tried his best to be good to me. We went to school together, came home together, and did our homework together. In middle school, because I developed earlier than my peers, I was often teased by the boys in my class. Julian got into many fights for me. I was a year older than him. Every time he fought, he would habitually say, "Charlotte is my sister. If any of you dare to bully her in the future, you're bullying me." Julian Sterling. After that, no one in the school dared to bully me again, and the image of him fighting for me quietly entered my heart. But I also knew that I was not good enough for Julian. His grandmother often said, "Charlotte, one must not forget one's roots. One must not forget one's roots." The Sterling family had pitted me and given me food to eat, not for me to covet what did not belong to me. So, I studied desperately, hiding my bittersweet crush in my textbooks. Later, Julian met Olivia. The two of them became a couple at school. My crush was like a weed that couldn't see the light, growing wildly in the fields, and eventually withering and dying. Later, I was admitted to medical school and went to another city. I rarely came back, and my contact with Julian naturally decreased. That summer vacation was the first time I had returned to the Sterling home after starting college. Julian was very happy and invited many classmates for a get-together. After returning home that night, for some reason, he got drunk and went into my room, because it was raining. It was already afternoon when I arrived at the airport. Just as I entered the main hall, I saw Julian leading Olivia out. They were laughing and talking, a handsome couple, attracting the attention of passers-by. I didn't expect such a coincidence. I subconsciously turned to leave through another door, but Julian had already spotted me. He noticed the suitcase in my hand. His face immediately changed, and he rushed over, grabbing me and pulling me into a stairwell. "Charlotte, what are you doing here? Are you following me?" he questioned. The stairwell was narrow. He was afraid Olivia would see me and had used almost all his strength. His elbow slammed into my waist, and the pain left me speechless for a moment. Seeing me not answer, his anger flared. He almost roared, "Are you deaf? What did I tell you? I told you not to appear in front of me and Olivia again. You've already forgotten my words." I recovered from the pain. Faced with his sudden temper, I became even calmer. "I'm not following you." "Then what are you doing at the airport?" he asked, then glanced at my suitcase and sneered. "You're really putting on a show, pretending to be going on a long trip. If I didn't know you had no family, I would have almost believed you." Hearing the confidence in his words, I suddenly didn't want to explain anymore. I pointed outside. "Olivia is looking for you." He followed my finger and saw that Olivia had gone to the security guards. "You wait for me at home. I'll settle Olivia down and then come deal with you," he said, then kicked my suitcase hard and left the stairwell. It wasn't until their figures had completely disappeared from the airport that I took out my boarding pass and went to the check-in counter. After landing, Adrian personally came to pick me up. After so many years, he was no longer the young older brother I remembered. Instead, he was a refined and successful gentleman. He wore a well-tailored dark suit and a pair of gold-rimmed glasses on his straight nose. Just standing there, he had already attracted a lot of attention. "Charlotte," I extended my hand to him. "Adrian." He shook my hand in return. The moment our eyes met, we both smiled. We had been in contact through email for the past few months. Despite the long separation, there was no awkwardness. We chatted all the way from the airport to the Ford family home. The Ford family was a renowned medical family, famous both at home and abroad. Adrian's parents, engrossed in their medical research when they were young, had accidentally lost him. Fortunately, he was found by the director. For the past few years, the director had been living with the Fords. Adrian's parents were very happy to see me and welcomed me warmly. Compared to the indifference of Julian's parents, the Ford family felt much warmer. I went upstairs to the director's room. She lay on the bed, her hair graying at the temples. When she saw me, she shed tears of joy. "Charlotte, my little Charlotte, you've grown so big." Only then did I know that for so many years, the director had never given up looking for me. The director's surgery could not be delayed. That night, Adrian showed me his treatment plan, and we confirmed the surgery date. The night before the surgery, I was a little nervous and couldn't sleep. I went to the balcony for some fresh air. A message came on my phone. I opened it. It was Julian. "Charlotte, why haven't you been answering my calls these past few days? See anything you like, I'll bring it back for you." He sent me a picture of a wall full of gifts. It was on a beach in Hawaii. He and Olivia were playing on the sand in swimsuits. with the endless coastline behind them. He asked if I liked any of the gifts, and he would bring it back for me. I stared at the phone screen for a while, then sent his number to my blacklist. Can't sleep. I turned around. It was Adrian. He handed me a bottle of water. I took it. Yes, maybe I'm still jet lagged. After the surgery, I'll take you out. If you're tired from playing during the day, you'll naturally sleep well at night, he said. I nodded gently, saying nothing. You've changed a lot, he said. Do you remember when you were little? You loved to cry. The director always reminded us to take extra care of you. Yes, the director was always very good to me. You've changed a lot too. I remember when you were little, you would always be reading a book by yourself, not talking to anyone. That's because you were always crying. I was afraid of making you cry, and then the director would scold me again, Adrian said with a round expression. I was amused by his look and asked, by the way, how did you find the director? A few years ago, I went back to the country. He glanced at me. It was at your university's graduation party. The director was there too. Oh, I was a little surprised. Then why didn't you say hello to me then? Because I wasn't sure. You were such a crybaby when you were little, afraid of getting a shot. Who would have thought you would study medicine when you grew up? And you disappeared halfway through the party, graduation party. I thought back to that night. It seemed a man had been looking at me and was about to approach me. Julian had seen him and was very unhappy, and had taken me home without a word. I never thought it would be Adrian. The director's surgery was a success. When Adrian and I were taking care of her in the hospital room, we talked about our childhood. I said, I still remember you carrying me out of the fire. I was on your back, so scared and crying, and you were comforting me not to be afraid. The director was very surprised. Charlotte, you didn't think it was me who carried you out, did you? Wasn't it? I was even more surprised than her. Of course not. It was Adrian. He rushed into the fire and carried you out. He still has burn scars on the back of his hand. The director reminded me. I was stunned. I subconsciously looked at Adrian. He lowered his head, a little embarrassed. I was just listening to the director's instructions to take good care of you. At that time, we had all escaped, but you were the youngest and trapped in the fire. I couldn't just leave you. After Adrian rescued me, he collapsed in the hospital corridor. Later, I disappeared. He had looked for me for a long time and had always blamed himself for losing me. After clearing up the childhood misunderstanding, my relationship with Adrian improved significantly. He would often take me to his workplace, discuss various medical knowledge with me, and tell me about his experiences over the years. Slowly, I also told him about being adopted by the Sterling family and my unequal marriage with Julian, all to repay their kindness. He listened with a pained expression. Charlotte, you are so outstanding. There's no need to feel inferior. It's the Sterling family's blessing that they could adopt you. I smiled. Do surgeons in your country also have to provide psychological counseling? It must be a blessing to be your patient. But he said seriously, you're not my patient. You're different from them. You don't know how much I envy Julian. A gust of wind blew, and I didn't catch the end of his sentence. What did you just say? I asked after the wind died down. He shook his head and said it was nothing. After the director recovered, she told me she wanted to return to the country. Charlotte, she said, seeing you and Adrian become so outstanding, I'm proud of you from the bottom of my heart. But fallen leaves return to their roots. The older you get, the more you miss your hometown. I still want to go back. I thought about it and decided to go back with her. Adrian knew and said his grandfather's 80th birthday was coming up, and he had to go back to celebrate, so he would travel with us. The night before we left, Adrian suddenly came to me, asking for a favor. A while ago, Mr. Ford was seriously ill and worried that Adrian would never find a wife and would be a bachelor for life. He wouldn't close his eyes in peace, so Adrian had lied and said he was already married. Who knew that after hearing this news? Mr. Ford was full of life again the next day and was now insisting on meeting this unseen granddaughter-in-law. But Adrian didn't even have a girlfriend. Where was he going to find a granddaughter-in-law? Charlotte, for the sake of me carrying you out of the fire when we were little, can you show some mercy and save me from the fire now? Just pretend to be my girlfriend and fool the old man. Okay. Adrian's face was full of pleading. He was a tall man, but standing in front of me, he was full of awkwardness, like a big fool. I wanted to laugh. The director also persuaded me. Just agree with me here. He won't dare to bully you. I thought about it and reluctantly agreed. Who knew that on the second day back in the country, I would run into Julian, and as Mrs. Ford, in Julian's mind, I was still in his house in the suburbs, waiting for his monthly visit. Although I hadn't been answering his calls or messages lately and had even blacklisted him, he always thought that women were easy to please with a few sweet words and a night in bed. So, when Adrian led me into Mr. Ford's birthday banquet and proudly introduced me to everyone, "This is my wife, Charlotte," he couldn't believe his eyes. He even forgot his basic gentlemanly manners. "Charlotte, what are you doing here? Didn't I tell you to wait for me at home? What are you doing here?" he said, reaching out to grab me again. Adrian blocked him without a fuss. "Sir, what are you trying to do to my wife?" "Your wife? How is that possible?" Julian sneered. "Her name is Charlotte. She grew up in my family. She's my, he suddenly stammered. "His what? Ex-wife." He glanced at Olivia beside him. Her face was even uglier than his. The news of his impending marriage to Olivia had already spread throughout their circle, and when his father had forced him to marry me, no one knew except for a few close friends. No one knew he was married, and no one knew he was divorced. "Charlotte, it's me, Julian." He had to turn his attention back to me. "How can you be Mrs. Ford? You're joking with me, right? I know you're still mad at me. Dad has been asking about you lately. Can you come home with me? Charlotte, come." He beckoned to me. In the past, whenever he beckoned, no matter how wronged I was, I would always obediently listen and go home with him, but not this time. I didn't even look at him. I gently linked my arm with Adrian's. "Adrian, let's go see Grandpa." "Okay." Adrian smiled dotingly. He led me slowly towards Mr. Ford. Julian stood there, watching us walk away. He wanted to say something, but he had no right. Mr. Ford liked me very much. He praised me for being beautiful, even more beautiful than in the photos. He praised Adrian for being lucky to have married a wife like me. Then he gave me the Ford family's ancestral jade bracelet. Receiving Mr. Ford's approval was equivalent to being accepted by the entire Ford family. I looked at the jade bracelet, knowing it was priceless. I quietly leaned closer to Adrian. "I'll give the bracelet back to you when we get back." Adrian winked. "I wouldn't dare to take it. If you want to return it, you can return it directly to Grandpa." "You." I glared at him. This scene, in the eyes of others, became a lover's spat. Everyone in the room laughed, except for Julian. After the banquet, Adrian went to get the car, and I walked out of the hotel alone. A figure suddenly appeared behind me. "Charlotte, stop right there." I turned around. It was Julian. He had somehow gotten rid of Olivia and was waiting for me here. "Charlotte, what's going on with you and that guy Ford? Didn't I tell you to wait for me at home? What have you been doing these past few months?" He was as entitled and arrogant as ever, as if the whole world should obey him. I smiled calmly. "Julian, we're already divorced, and I promised you that I would never see you again. I hope you won't make me break my vow." "What damn vow?" "That was just to appease Olivia. How could you take it seriously? And the divorce. I never wanted to separate from you. Charlotte, didn't I tell you? You and Olivia, one in the light, one in the dark, won't interfere with each other." I finally couldn't take it anymore and slapped him across the face. "Julian, how do you have the face to say such things? I'm a person too, a living, breathing person who feels sad and cries when wronged. Have you ever thought about my feelings? You crushed my dignity and trampled it under your feet. Is that fun for you? Julian, for so many years, the debt I owed your sterling family, I've already paid it back on your body. From now on, we're even." With that, I walked away briskly. Just then, Adrian's car pulled up. He got out personally and opened the door for me. He noticed Julian in the distance and frowned slightly. Julian seemed to have been stunned by my slap and stood there for a long time without moving. It wasn't until the car door closed heavily that he seemed to wake up from a dream and ran over. "Charlotte, I'm sorry. I'm not getting married. I'm not marrying Olivia. Don't go. Let's be like we were before." "Okay, Charlotte, don't go," he said, his voice choking with sobs. He reached out to pull the car door open. Adrian grabbed him by the collar. "Mr. Sterling, it's very rude to pester someone else's wife like this, so I'm going to have to hit you." He gave a heads up, then punched Julian in the face. Julian was sent flying, his body falling heavily to the ground. He coughed, and a trickle of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. He looked at Adrian, then at me in the car, and it dawned on him. "I see, it was you. You seduced Charlotte, didn't you? You stole my wife, and you hit me." He scrambled up from the ground and threw a punch at Adrian, but he didn't know that Adrian was not only a surgeon but also a taekwondo black belt. In just a few easy moves, he was knocked down again. Adrian dusted off his clothes. "Mr. Sterling, if I were you and had met her so early, I would have cherished her and not let her suffer any grievances. But look at what you've done. Now you regret it and want her back. That's impossible. I won't give you that chance again. She is my lost and found treasure, and I will never let her go in this lifetime. After saying this, Adrian got in the car and started the engine. Julian lay on the ground, watching our car drive away, his fists clenched, then slowly unclenched. It seemed that only then did he belatedly realize that I was not coming back. Adrian took me back to the Ford family home. I was staying in a guest room. When he was escorting me upstairs, I tried to take off the jade bracelet to return it to him, but he wouldn't let me. Grandpa gave it to you. You should keep it. This is too valuable, and I know what it means. I can't accept it. I tried to take it off again, but he held my hand and said seriously, Charlotte, what I just said, it wasn't just for Julian to hear. It was for you to hear too. Huh? I tried to recall what he had said to Julian, a little confused. What do you mean, Charlotte? You don't need to feel any pressure. I like you. That's my own business. You might not believe it, but at the graduation party that year, I fell in love with you at first sight. Later, when I confirmed you were the Charlotte from my childhood, you don't know how happy I was. At that moment, I swore to myself that I would never lose you again. Later, when I heard you were married, I was sad for a long time. I was planning to be single for the rest of my life. When my grandfather was seriously ill, I showed him your picture, but heaven has eyes. That man didn't know how to cherish you, and you got divorced. This time, I will never let go. Charlotte, I'm telling you this not to get an answer from you or for you to repay me. I just want you to know that you are outstanding and deserve better, whether you like me or not. In my heart, I have already decided on you. So, you should accept this jade bracelet. If I can't marry you, I would rather be single for the rest of my life. He turned and left after saying this. I stood there, thinking about his words over and over. Was he confessing to me? It was the first time anyone had ever confessed to me in my life. In middle school, because I developed early, I was often teased by the boys in my class. Later, I even got used to walking with my head down, my inferiority complex deeply ingrained. After marrying Julian, he didn't like me and even wanted to divorce me to appease Olivia. He was afraid I would be unwanted after the divorce, so he wanted me to continue to be his secret mistress. I had been so trampled upon. I once thought that I was not worthy of being liked, but now, Adrian was telling me that I was outstanding and deserved better. He said he liked me. This was a really happy thing. I thought that after Julian was beaten up by Adrian that day, he wouldn't show up again, but 2 days later, he came to the Ford family home again, brought by his father. Charlotte, I had no idea you two were divorced. It was all this rascal's moment of folly. I'm bringing him here now to apologize to you, Mr. Sterling finished speaking and slapped Julian across the face. Kneel down. Apologize to Charlotte now. Julian, who was usually fearless and looked down on everyone, obediently knelt on the ground. Charlotte, I'm sorry. I was wrong about what happened before. Can you forgive me and come home with me? His tone was sincere, and there were faint tears in his eyes as he looked at me. I was a little confused about what this father and son were up to. Although Mr. Sterling had forced Julian to marry me, he had never acknowledged our relationship to the outside world. Besides taking money from me, he had never given me a good look. The entire Sterling family looked down on me from the bottom of their hearts. Fortunately, Adrian came back early and saw the scene. He didn't say a word and directly called security to escort the Sterling father and son out. Adrian told me that the Sterling enterprise had gone bankrupt. Julian had only found out today that the conglomerate he had always been so proud of was actually on the verge of collapse and had been supported by my salary all these years. When Mr. Sterling found out he had divorced me, he gave him a good scolding and forced him to come and beg me to go back. Charlotte, have you ever thought that maybe, back then, Mr. Sterling forced Julian to marry you because he saw your future career potential? Adrian finally reminded me. I didn't answer. My heart already had the answer. After the Sterling father and son left the Ford family home that day, they had a car accident on the road due to their emotional turmoil. At the critical moment, Mr. Sterling shielded Julian. Julian was unharmed, but Mr. Sterling was lying in a hospital bed, unconscious. Julian grew up overnight. He begged everywhere to save his father's life, but after visiting hundreds of hospitals, he was told there was nothing they could do. Finally, someone kindly reminded him. I heard the Ford family's younger son, Adrian, is back. The Ford family is a medical family, and Adrian has a high reputation in the surgical world. If you go and beg him, maybe he can save your father's life. Julian came to the Ford family home again, kneeling for a long time. I stood upstairs, watching him transform from the arrogant young master of the past to the desolate and downtrodden young man he was now in just a few short days. I was filled with a sense of, do you think I should agree? Adrian had come in at some point and was standing beside me, watching Julian with me. The scalpel is in your hands. You should decide for yourself. I turned and went downstairs, starting to pack my toolkit, because I knew Adrian would definitely agree. He was a doctor first, and Adrian second. I collaborated with Adrian again, to save Julian's father's life. The surgery was going smoothly until the anesthesia stage, when I discovered a fatal problem. The anesthetic had been tampered with. Fortunately, my professional skills were solid. I immediately used the backup anesthetic, and after confirming it was safe, the surgery proceeded without a hitch. Afterward, I checked the surveillance footage and questioned the nurses involved. All aptures pointed to Olivia. She was also a doctor at this hospital. I didn't hesitate to call the police. The day Olivia was taken away, her phone was playing the video I had recorded at the Civil Affairs Bureau on a loop. All right, Charlotte, swear, I will never love Julian again in this lifetime. I will not pester him, and I will not see him. If I break this vow, may I be struck by lightning and die a horrible death. She laughed maniacally. Charlotte, you broke your vow. You deserve to die a horrible death. Back then, if you hadn't seduced Julian, why would he have married you? You had already left. Why did you have to come back? You broke your own vow. You deserve to die a horrible death. Enough. Julian stood up and interrupted her. He snatched the phone from her hand and smashed it on the ground. She never seduced me. I was the one who took advantage of her when I was drunk, and then used the Sterling family's kindness to her to bully her again and again. I'm not a human being. I'm the one who should be struck by lightning. With that, he slapped himself hard across the face, and I, in a belated realization, understood. That night, Julian had not been drunk at all. The day Mr. Sterling was successfully discharged from the hospital, the Sterling enterprise officially declared bankruptcy. Julian was also saddled with a huge debt. He was no longer the glamorous young master of the past. He had fallen into the mud, and even passing dogs couldn't help but kick him. When Julian's grandmother saw me, she could no longer say the words, "One must not forget one's roots." The day Olivia was sentenced, Adrian and I were both there. Olivia looked at us and suddenly smiled. Adrian, have you ever looked into her past? She was with Julian for 7 years. Even I minded those 7 years. I don't believe you don't have any reservations in your heart. Adrian replied, everyone has a past. What I mind is not meeting her sooner and letting her suffer so much. So, I will spend the rest of my life making it up to her. A week later, we had settled our affairs in the country. After saying goodbye to the director, we boarded a plane to a foreign country together. The hospital where Adrian worked had officially offered me a position. From now on, we would be permanent work partners. On the plane, I said to Adrian, I've thought seriously about what you said. I'm very happy to be liked by you, but I don't want to get into a new relationship right now. If you don't want to wait, I won't blame you. We can still be good friends. But Adrian smiled. It's okay. I'm willing to wait. Even if I have to wait a lifetime. It's okay. As long as it's you. A lifetime. It wouldn't have to be that long, because I didn't plan on being single for a lifetime either.